Joining us for more on this is Texas Senator Ted Cruz. So you've heard from Kamala Harris on her recent visit. I just want to point out two things. Here's a tweet from her in 2017 in which she said, "Say it loud, say it clear. Everyone is welcome here. Hashtag no ban, no wall." And then this is what she said to NPR in March of 2019.
I disagree with any policy that would turn America's back on people who are fleeing harm. I frankly believe that it is contrary to everything that we have symbolically and actually said we stand for.
And yesterday she was there and she tried to say, do not come, you will be turned away. Let's get your take this morning, Senator.
Well, I got to say that video of her saying do not come, it seemed a little bit like a hostage video. She was reading the words, but everything she has said, everything Joe Biden has said, and more importantly, everything Joe and Kamala have done have sent exactly the opposite message. We've seen in the 5 months they've been in office an absolute disaster unfolding at the border. You may remember a couple of months ago, I brought 19 senators down to the Rio Grande Valley to see firsthand what was happening. We are seeing hundreds of thousands of people crossing illegally, the highest rate of illegal immigration in 20 years. We're seeing little children being brought in by human traffickers, thrown in cages. You know, for 4 years, the media went on and on and on about kids in cages, kids in cages. What they never told you is Barack Obama built the cages, and now Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have built more cages. They're bigger and they're more full. And in that entire interview, what you don't hear is any willingness to fix the problem. They can fix the problem tomorrow, and they could fix the problem by ending catch and release and by reinstating the Remain in Mexico policy. But neither Kamala nor Joe are willing to do that. And so instead, she laughs it off and says, well, I haven't been to Europe. Well, okay, you haven't been to Europe, you haven't been to Australia, but we don't have an Australian border crisis. We don't have a border crisis in Europe. We have a border crisis on the southern border. Come to Texas, come to the Rio Grande Valley, come to McAllen, come see the cages that the Biden-Harris administration has built, and then even more importantly, stand up and be willing to enforce our laws to fix it, because that's not what they're doing right now.
Last hour, Dana said she hasn't been to Mars. I can see the memes, on and on it goes. We were given
Actually, Jeff Bezos could help her on that one.
Maybe next month. You're right about that. In the last hour, we heard two stunning numbers. And I haven't heard other people verify these numbers. I wonder if you can. Number one, people have been apprehended or crossed the border from at least 75 countries. In the last month, at least 200,000 have crossed, whether they were processed or whether they were known as gotaways. And 200,000 was at the low end. Are those numbers true?
Both of those numbers are consistent with what I've been told. I don't have the specific data on those exact numbers, but those are consistent with the multiple briefings I've had. You know, I can tell you last year in 2020, we had the lowest rate of illegal immigration in 45 years. So it's worth stepping back and saying, okay, what worked? Obviously, we'd figured out a way to solve the problem. And the answer is President Trump had negotiated an agreement with the government of Mexico that was called the Remain in Mexico Agreement. And what that agreement provided is that people from Central America who crossed illegally into Mexico would remain in Mexico while their U.S. asylum cases were proceeding here. And that produced success at an incredible level. As I said, the lowest rate of illegal immigration in 45 years. When Joe Biden and Kamala Harris came into office, they immediately ripped up that international agreement. They basically said, Katie bar the door, ollie ollie oxen free, everybody come on in. And you know what? They heard them, and we're seeing just a mass of humanity coming in. And it is a humanitarian crisis. It's a public health crisis, and it's a national security crisis. You mentioned 75 countries. I can tell you I've seen the lists of people, the countries they're coming from. Many of them are Central Americans, but many of them are coming from places like China, places like Turkey, places like Iran, places like some very dangerous places that are hotbeds of radical Islamic terrorism, and we're seeing more and more. Look, the message has gone out, our southern border is open, and anyone who wants to do harm, that's a natural path to come in. And, I found it curious that Kamala in that press conference said we're enforcing our laws. when they're not. They're letting people go. It's a giant turnstile where they're letting them go. You're just showing now footage of the wall. They halted construction of the wall, and they have these huge holes where they won't put in the gates. They just leave it open. It is, and let me step back for a second. There's a reason Kamala Harris doesn't want to go to the border. There's a reason Joe Biden doesn't want to go to the border. Because they know that if they go, the reporters will follow them. The TV cameras will follow them. Their strategy is simple. It's try to cover this up. You know, you're airing this on Fox, and I'm grateful that you are, but you know where they're not airing this? On CNN, on ABC, CBS, NBC. None of the corrupt corporate media is even acknowledging this exists. And that's why Kamala and Joe are not going to the border, because they know if they go, it'll drive the coverage, and they don't have a solution to this crisis. So they're prepared for it to just get worse and worse and worse.
Senator Ted Cruz, always good to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana.